You don't have a focus problem. You have a tolerance problem. There's a difference. And the moment you understand it, you'll stop trying to fix the wrong thing. Everyone talks about focus like it's a switch. Like one morning you wake up, drink the right coffee, put on the right playlist, and suddenly you can sit down for 4 hours without your mind wandering off to check something, think about something, feel something that has nothing to do with what's in front of you. That's not focus. That's fantasy. Real focus isn't a state you enter. It's a tolerance you build. A tolerance for discomfort, for the itch of the unresolved, for the pull of something easier, for the weight of being fully present in a world that profits from your absence. And you haven't been training that tolerance, you've been managing around it. Think about the last time you actually tried to sit with something hard, not scroll past it, not split your screen, not have the TV on in the background just for noise. Actually sit with one thing in silence until it was done. How long did it last, be honest? 12 minutes? 8? Less? And before you felt the urge to move, there was a moment, brief, almost invisible, where something in you said, not this, not now, there's something better to do. And you listened. You always listen. That moment is the real problem. Not the phone, not the notifications, not the algorithm designed to hijack your dopamine. Those are just the exits. You were already looking for the door. Here's what nobody tells you about attention. It is not a resource that gets depleted. It is a skill that gets abandoned. William James, the father of American psychology, wrote in the 1890s that the ability to voluntarily bring back a wandering attention over and over again is the very root of character, judgment, and will. He said it was an education in itself. He also said, most people never do it. That was before smartphones, before infinite scroll, before a machine. Learning algorithm knew what emotional state made you most likely to keep watching. And even then, James saw it clearly. The war for your attention is not new. What's new is that you're now outgunned, but not unarmed. The brain's attentional system operates on a principle so simple it's almost offensive once you see it. What you repeatedly return to, you strengthen. What you repeatedly abandon, you weaken. That's it. No supplements needed. No morning routine required. Every time your mind wanders during a difficult task, and it will wander, it's designed to wander, and you notice it and you bring it back without drama, without self-loathing, without making it mean something about your worth or your wiring, you have just completed one repetition, one rep, for your prefrontal cortex, for the exact neural pathway that separates reacting from choosing. That separates being driven by the environment from driving your own life. You're not failing when your mind wanders. You're failing when you don't bring it back. The wandering is the weight, the return is the lift, and most people put down the weight every single time. They check the phone, they get up, they make it easier, they never finish a single rep, they wonder why they have no strength. Now here's where this gets uncomfortable, because you might be reading this and thinking, I know this, I've heard this, I've read the books about deep work and flow states and neuroplasticity, I understand the concept. And you're right, you probably do. Understanding is not the problem. You've never been short on information. What you're short on is willingness to be bad at something for long enough to get good. Because the early stages of training attention feel terrible. Your mind doesn't want to stay. The task feels dull. Time dilates. You feel restless, irritable, almost claustrophobic inside the moment. And every instinct you have says, this isn't working. Try something else. That feeling, that specific discomfort is the training. Not a sign that you're failing. Not a sign that you're doing it wrong. Not a sign that you need a better system. It's the signal that you're doing exactly what needs to be done. Viktor Frankl spent 3 years in Nazi concentration camps. He had nothing. No possessions, no freedom, no certainty he would survive the next day. And what he observed, in himself, in the others around him, was that the one thing no external force could reach was the space between a stimulus and a response. That tiny space, where a human being chooses. That space is what you're building when you train your attention. Not productivity, not output, not more tasks completed per hour. The capacity to be a person who chooses. Let's talk about what this actually looks like. Because I'm not interested in theory that doesn't survive contact with your actual Tuesday. There's a man I want you to picture. 41 years old, Mid-level manager at a logistics company. Smart. Reads a lot. Has 3 productivity apps on his phone, a whiteboard full of goals, and a folder on his desktop called Projects Important that he hasn't opened in 6 months. He starts every day with intention. By 10 a.m. he has checked email 3 times, responded to messages that didn't need responses, spent 20 minutes on a problem that technically belongs to someone else, and has not touched the one task, the one hard, important, consequential task that he wrote down the night before. He's not lazy. He's not uncommitted. He's not undisciplined in the way he thinks he is. He's avoidant, but not of work. He's avoidant of the specific discomfort of full presence, because full presence means the task might not go well, means he might run out of ideas, means he might sit there for 10 minutes without progress and have to confront the possibility that he doesn't know what to do next. And that feeling, that exposure, is what he's actually running from every time he checks. The email that doesn't need checking. The phone isn't the addiction. The escape from that feeling is the addiction. And no app will fix that. No timer will fix that. No productivity framework will fix that. Only the practice of staying fixes that. So what does the practice actually look like? It looks like choosing one task, not your easiest task, not the one that already has momentum, the one that matters most and has been sitting at the top of your list, unchosen, for longer than you want to admit. It looks like removing every exit, not reducing distractions, removing them. The phone goes in another room, not on silent on the desk, another room. The difference is not symbolic. Knowing the phone is reachable changes your brain state. Research from the University of Texas showed that the mere presence of a smartphone on a desk, face down, silent, off, reduces available cognitive capacity. The exit has to close. It looks like starting before you're ready, before the mood is right, before you've had enough coffee, before you feel like it. Because feelings follow action. The brain doesn't warm up before the work. It warms up during the work. Those first 10 minutes of friction are neurological, not personal. Push through them once, and you'll stop being afraid of them. It looks like staying when the urge comes, and it will come. Precisely when you're deepest in something hard, some part of your brain will manufacture a reason to stop. You'll suddenly remember something urgent. You'll feel thirsty. You'll have a great idea you need to write down right now, or you'll forget it. These aren't interruptions, they're tests. Every time you stay, you pass. Every time you leave, you reset. It looks like 25 minutes, then 30, then 40. Not because there's magic in the number, but because you're calibrating, learning your own tolerance curve and pushing it deliberately the way you push physical limits in training. A little more each time, not heroically, just a little more. And here's what happens when you do this consistently, not for a week, not when you feel motivated, but as a practice that doesn't depend on how you feel. The discomfort decreases, not because you've removed the difficulty, but because your nervous system has learned that it can survive it. That full presence isn't dangerous. That sitting with a hard problem and not immediately knowing the answer isn't a threat. It's just work. And then something else happens. Something that people who've been through this describe the same way over and over. The world starts to slow down, not literally, but the frantic sensation of too much, too fast, too many things pulling at you simultaneously, that starts to quiet. Because you've trained your brain to be in one place at a time, and a brain that lives in one place at a time is a brain that thinks clearly, decides accurately, moves with intention rather than reaction. You become, in the most literal, neurological sense, a different kind of decision maker. Nietzsche wrote that the secret of the greatest fruitfulness and the greatest enjoyment of existence is to live dangerously. He didn't mean physical risk. He meant the danger of full engagement, of putting yourself entirely into the thing in front of you without holding back, without one eye on the exit. That's what trained focus makes possible. Not just more work done, but a different quality of presence in your work, in your relationships, in your own mind. Quick break before we continue. Everything you're learning here only works if you actually execute it. And executing is exactly where most people stop. I built a system called the Untamed Mind protocol. 3 tools that work together. An ebook that explains the why, an interactive dashboard that structures your day, and a reprogramming audio that works where knowledge alone can't reach. All of it for $17. Link in the description. Now back to the video. I want to talk about the mirror moment, because this is where most content fails you. It gives you the framework, the system, the steps, and then ends. And you watch, feel good, feel seen, feel like you understand. And nothing changes. So I'm going to ask you something directly, and I need you to actually hold it instead of moving past it. What would your life look like right now if you had trained your attention for the last 2 years the way you've been told to train it? Not the fantasy version, the real version, the specific version. Would the project be done? The business be started? The book be written? The relationship be different, more present, less distracted, less managed at a distance while you're technically in the same room? Sit with that for a moment. Don't soften it. Because the uncomfortable answer isn't that you were lazy. It's not that you were weak. It's that you chose, every single day, the path of least cognitive resistance. And you called it pragmatism. Called it being overwhelmed. Called it survival. And it cost you something. 2 years of reps you didn't take. 2 years of returning a wandering mind that you let wander instead. That's not a moral failure. It's not a character flaw. It's a habit. Habits can be changed, but only if you stop pretending the problem is something you can manage around. Here's what I've learned from watching people actually change this pattern. Not the ones who read about it and feel inspired for a week, but the ones who actually shift at a structural level. They stop negotiating with the difficulty. Most people who struggle with focus approach every work session like it's a negotiation. If conditions are right, they'll focus. If they feel good, they'll focus. If the task is interesting enough, they'll focus. They treat full attention as a payment they make in exchange for circumstances being favorable. People who build real attentional capacity stop negotiating. They decide once, this is what I do, and they do it. Not because they're superhuman, not because they have more willpower, but because they've understood something fundamental. Willpower spent deciding is willpower, not spent doing. Every morning you wake up and decide whether to check your phone first thing, you lose. Not because checking your phone is catastrophically damaging, but because you practiced the wrong thing first. You trained negotiation before you trained presence. And what you train first thing trains the day. The practice isn't dramatic. It's not a 2-hour morning routine with cold plunges and journaling and breathwork. It's something much simpler and much harder. Wake up. Do the important thing before anything else competes for your attention. Not forever, not perfectly, but today, and then again, tomorrow. There's a particular kind of person this video will reach who needs to hear this specific thing. You've already tried. You've done the blocks and the timers and the phone in another room and the morning routine and the evening planning. You've read Deep Work and Atomic Habits and every productivity book that promised to fix the problem, and for a while each of them helped. And then life happened, and you lost the streak, and you started again, and it helped again, and you lost it again. And somewhere inside you, quietly, you've started to believe that maybe this is just how you are, that some people are built for sustained focus, and you're not, that your brain is different, that the diagnosis fits, or that the stress is real, or that life is genuinely too full right now for this kind of thing. I want to be careful here, because some of what you're feeling is real. Stress degrades attention. Poor sleep degrades attention. A nervous system that never gets to rest degrades attention. These aren't excuses, they're physiological realities. But here's the truth underneath that truth. Most of what you're experiencing as an inability to focus is actually an unwillingness to be uncomfortable without immediately soothing the discomfort. And that's not a clinical condition. That's a habit. Trained unconsciously over years of having a device in your pocket that could remove any discomfort at any moment with 3 seconds of scrolling. You were not always like this. There was a version of you that read for 3 hours straight, that played for hours without looking up, that sat with a problem long enough to actually solve it. That version isn't gone. It's just been untrained. And it can be retrained, not by motivation, by repetition. One session, then another, then another. The climax of this is not a revelation. It's simpler than that. There is a version of you, not a hypothetical, not an ideal, but a version of you that is actually accessible, actually buildable, actually you, who sits down with the important thing and does not leave until it is done. Not because it felt good, not because the conditions were perfect, not because the mood was right, and the room was quiet and the stars aligned, but because you trained yourself to stay, because you took the reps, the uncomfortable, unglamorous, never going to go viral reps of bringing your attention back again and again until staying became easier than leaving. That version of you doesn't need to be motivated every morning, doesn't need to feel like it, doesn't need permission or optimal conditions. That version of you has a tolerance built by practice, a capacity earned through repetition. And the only question that matters at this point, the only one, is whether you are willing to start accumulating the reps. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down. Today, with whatever task you've been avoiding, for whatever amount of time you can sustain, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20, without exit. That's it. That's the whole prescription. The Untamed Mind isn't a community of people who found the secret. It's a community of people who decided to take the reps, who stopped looking for the shortcut and started showing up for the practice. If that's the version of you you're building toward, you're already in the right place. You made it to the end. That already says something about you. Most people open a video about discipline and close it halfway through. You stayed, you listened, you're looking for something real. So I want to show you something I built specifically for where you are right now. You know what you want, you've consumed enough content, but the day still ends without the things that actually matter getting done. It's the Untamed Mind protocol. 3 tools, 1 system. The ebook shows you exactly why your mind sabotages you before you even notice, and what to do differently. The daily dashboard opens right in your browser. No app, no login. You set your intention, your 3 priorities, use the focus timer, track your habits, do your evening reflection, all in one place, offline. The reprogramming audio is 20 minutes. Listen in the morning or before sleep. It works on the subconscious layer, where real habits actually live. It's $17 one time, no subscription, less than what you spend without thinking on a random afternoon. Link is in the description. If you watched this far, this protocol is for you.